Well, hello to all Thursday curious people. I hope you're okay. We're streaming today on the Max on Training Team and the Max on YouTube channels. And before I start my housekeeping, I just want to do my usual sound check if everyone can hear me and if the sound is coming through quite nice. Let's see who's here. It appears that someone is here. Oh, Mate, how are you? Um, yeah, if anyone can hear me, just say I can hear you. And that's a single reply, positive reply would be good enough. I don't want to end up just talking in the wild. Let's see. Nobody, nobody. Ah, good. Excellent. So I am audible. So very quickly, let me start with the usual housekeeping. So I need to switch to this screen. Fantastic. So in order to get to this page, and I'll be posting some links in the comments, just click on this link down here, and it will take you to this page where you can go through this form and ask your questions. And also, you can go to any one of these links down here, which we're going to quickly go through. One thing you need to remember is that we can't get to all the questions, and we'll try to get through as many as possible. We do receive a high volume of questions. Now, in terms of the Max on events, if you click here, you're going to go to this page over here where all the ongoing and past events and even future ones are posted in this really neat layout. As far as these videos, if you want to watch them recorded, although we are streaming live on both Maxon's YouTube channel and the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel, it's the Maxon Training Team YouTube channel that hosts these after they have been broadcast live, with the addition of comments and timestamps kindly provided by our friend and mentor, Dr. Sassy. Of course, don't forget to go to the Maxon Zbrush YouTube channel to learn this fantastic piece of software, which now you can use from your couch using an iPad. So go check it out. And for the month of November, as a token of appreciation for your participation in these shows, you can go and claim your free T-shirt. You only pay for postage and folding, washing, and all that nice stuff. And the code is, let me paste it in here, for the month of November, beautiful textures, or capital letters, no spaces. And finally, of course, don't forget to go to Cineversity and learn a great deal of stuff from our amazing trainers, including myself, of course. So I think that does it for the housekeeping. Let me find an appropriate screen to switch to. And let me see, do I have any other links I need to show? Um, so I'm going to show up this link just in case you miss it in the text. And this is to get you to the ask the question. And what else do we have here? And of course, beautiful textures. When you go over here, it says, where's a t-shirt? It should be a t-shirt thing right somewhere around here. Let me rewind, reload this and find Vents University. Oh, interesting. I can't see the t-shirt link here. So what I'm going to do is paste it in the comments. There we go. And it should be up in a couple of seconds. Excellent. So the last thing I want to ask you is if you do have some questions, please preface them with the word question capitalized so I can look at my chat, which is right there. And if there's something I can show, I can respond to this. And yes, that is necessary. If you want to contact me on Twixer, you can use a handle at NosemanGR because I'm Noseman and I'm Greek. And you can DM me with various questions. Keep your files simplified and your questions concise, and I'll try to get to as many as possible. There we go. And here we have Cinema 4D screen. And I'm going to be looking at the various questions at the same time. I'm going to go to my fantastic spreadsheet on the side, maximize the Cinema 4D window, and let's get cracking. So I'm going to answer a question about which I just received minutes ago on Twixer, and it says, can we make the IV generator? So just in case you don't know it, there's a node capsule called IV generator. And it's a pretty interesting one. If you search for Ivy in the asset browser, you will get this Ivy generator, and you can add objects and stuff like that. And the question is if we can add some secondary motion to the leaves. And the answer is no, unless there's a setting in this generator itself, then you cannot add procedural leaves. What you could do is generally make this editable. And for anything that is a nodes capsule, you go right click and you say current state to object, and it will give you the various leaves, and it will give you the splines and all the other stuff you may need. And then you can treat it as a normal object. So I apologize for not having a better response to this, but that's just about it. Now, let me copy a question here for my spreadsheet and create a banner so I can show it to you. And here it is. And let me show it. If I want to use random colors for particles created by a mesh emitter, how should I do it? I don't know why the mesh emitter is important, because you can assign random colors to particles in whatever method you wish upon emission. But let's just quickly do it. I have my own particles layout, which I've created. And if you go to Cineversity, there's a tutorial that shows you how to do that. But I just have all my particle related stuff over here. So let's create a mesh emitter and add the mesh emitter on this sphere. And now we get these particles emitted from the surface of this mesh. Let's give it a couple of seconds to think about it. There we go. And when you go to the emitter in the properties, there's the color group, and one of them is random. And all you have to do is create a gradient or load one from the presets, and it will go and select colors from these, and then just press play again, and you can see the particles now are nicely randomized colors. But of course, you can do a subset of these and just create any gradient. And this color is going to propagate in Redshift and MoGraph using the appropriate channels. So that's how you create the random colors from a mesh emitter or any other emitter for that matter. So even if we don't have a mesh emitter, we can use any basic emitter here and just apply the same principle here, and go and let's select the German flag colors over here. And you can see again that we get all these nice little colors, and there we have it, nicely randomized. So that's a way you randomize color. I'm just going to leave it here for now, just delete everything. Okay, so let's go down to another one. Now, this is a bit long. The basic question is someone has a building generator. So let me read it out. I have a setup for a simple building generator using a cloner for window selection and placement. The cloner portion of the building uses a random seed to create a new window layout. I would like to then insert the building nested group into a parent cloner to populate my scene. I try using a field driver to create variants of the random seed and thus new buildings and so forth. Now, depending on the way you've set this up, it could be different. Here, I've just created a very simplified scene that have a cloner set to random. And here I have the seed. The seed is driven by this field driver. And just in case you don't know how to do that, go here on any parameter you want to use the field driver. You right click, you go field driver, and you add one. You set the upper and lower limits of the numbers you want. So let's say 100 to 200, and this is the range it's going to pick from. And then you tell it in the field how it's going to pick these numbers. And using this linear field now, whenever, because the cloner has its axes right here in the center, and because the field driver, the mode is object location, it uses this center here to sample the field. So if I move this field, it will change the seed. Now, I'm pretty sure this is not what you want. What I'd like you to do is create a simplified setup like this, and DM me or supply some sort of link to the file. Oh no. Okay, my Cinema 4D screen is minimized. Yep, thank you very much for the reminder. I wasn't showing anything terrible. Very quickly, let me show exactly what I showed. For any of the values, if you want to add a field driver, thank you very much, Magic Dog, for reminding me. You just right-click here, and you say field driver add, and it will add for this parameter. You see this is now a little fuchsia color, pink color. And you go here and you designate the minimum and maximum value, so 100 to 200, for example. And then you tell it what field we want to sample. And because if you go to the tag over here, you will see that the sampling location for the field is the object location, which happens to be the center of the cloner. Whenever this linear field moves through that object, depending on the value it returns, it will change the random seed. So this does require, I'd like to see the setup in order to provide a better solution. And hello, Marco. I hope you're well. Thanks for joining us. Alongside Magic Dog, Dare, Jill, Mate, and Jay, and anyone else that hasn't said hi. Shame on you. I need to get a bell or something to ring it when I shame everyone. And yeah, if this question was asked through the form by Roger, if you may provide some sort of simplified file, don't supply windows and stuff like that, just cubes and spheres, and we can work towards some sort of solution. Okay, let's move down the list. I'm looking at the chat as well. There's no question as of yet. Let's see. Oh, here's a question that was asked by Mirko, and he initially asked me last week on Twixer. And because I happen to be on a bit of a break these days, I'm just taking a break from the break every second Thursday to do quick tips every Thursday and the show every second Thursday. So I'm on a break from a break right now, just in case you didn't notice. And I asked Mirko to post it in the form. And the question is the following. Let me bring up a video he supplied. There we go. So this is a video of some sort of fracturing that happens and reveals an internal structure, which oddly looks like me or Gandhi or someone else similar. We do have a certain look. So the question basically has to do with certain collision issues, and the necessity to trigger the simulation with an attractor and a spherical field. I'm not going to show that. I'm going to show how you can trigger a simulation using fields, right? Now, let me just bring up the final file, and then I'm going to go and just build it. So this is what I'm building here. And just in case you were curious, internally somewhere here, there's an object. We can go from underneath, hide the floor. You can see there is an object over here, and it's sort of hollow. Maybe I can go here and make it X-ray. I don't know how much. Yeah, you can see there's this internal structure, and it's void inside. There are no fragments here. So let's go and check out how I did this. And basically, what this does is as the linear field will move through my rigid bodies is going to activate various parts of the simulation. Okay, something like this. Now, I don't know if there are any other specific requirements, but this is the extent by which I'm going to show this. So I'm just going to copy and paste the head because I'm too lazy to go here. And as you can see, I've added a collider to the head because we want the objects to collide. And I'm going to get this cube. Whenever you're creating something, you want to fit in something, go to your four views. And if you press H with your mouse here, it's going to maximize that view. But if you press Alt H, it's going to maximize all views. So I'm just going to make it a bit economical and just put the head inside. Excellent. So we got the head inside. Now I want to subtract the head from it. And to do that, I'm actually going to take the cube and put it under a volume builder to create an SDF. And then I'm going to go to the object here. I'm going to drag the head and subtract it. And yep, it's because it sort of moved. So I can always bring up the cube a bit. There you go. So it's right there. Maybe I need to move the volume builder as well. Let me quickly do that. Volume builder. Let me just do the whole thing. So I'm just going to do this and get the volume builder and just pick the whole thing up. Now there seems to be an issue with. All right, so I'm just going to make a copy of this and put it in here and go to object. Which one is which now? Let me just remove both of them and make a copy of this, put it here, and go here and subtract it. So subtract. There we go. And here's my generic head. Select both heads and let's lift them up a bit. You can see as it's going in, it's creating that little bit of a gap. I'm just going to leave it here so we can see it. And then I'm going to go to this and I'm going to create a volume over here, volume mesher, right? So now we have this mesh, and let me reset my layout. And if I hide this, you will see we get that gap inside. Now, because we're going to use simulation and rigid bodies, I don't really want these two to overlap. You can see that if I go inside, the object overlaps, and I don't want this to create any explosions. The easiest way to fix this is to use the SDF dilate and erode. And if you go positive, it sort of inflates, all right? And if you go negative, it deflates. So you can find that sweet spot where you don't see any of the geometry anymore. And I'm just going to give it maybe a bit more resolution. So now I have a healthy gap between the object outside and the object inside. You can play with the settings to make it a bit more accurate. So this is my object here. So no problem. Now, one thing I like to do sometimes is just go add the cache layer and cache it. So it doesn't have to recalculate every time you sort of move things around and all that. This is a temporary bake. But if you move something that's participating and contributing to this volume, it's good to recache it, to refresh it. So what I'm going to do with this is put it under Voronoi fracture. So I'm pressing Alt and I'm trying to find the Voronoi fracture, which is in the MoGraph menu, and I'm looking for it somewhere else. And let's go here to the sources, turn off this so we can see a few more. Select the point generator, and let's set this to 200 points or even 500 points. And when I say 500, I mean 300. And now we have all these nice little things going on here. So the other thing I want to do, I can add a floor to catch them if I wish to do so. Let's just make it bigger and of course go to the simulation tag and add a collider, bring it up ever so slightly so it doesn't overlap here, and turn it off because I don't want to look at it. Now, now these fractures, I want them to be rigid bodies. And you'll see that this is sort of going to fall down. So now I need a controllable way to activate these simulated objects. And the easiest way to do this is we know that the Voronoi fracture is a MoGraph object. So this applies to all MoGraph objects. So let's go here and create a MoGraph selection. And just click to create at least one, and it will create the tag. And of course, go and use fields, get rid of the freeze, which recorded that one thing I selected. And now we have this MoGraph selection. And what I'm going to take advantage of is if you go to the rigid body tag, there's a MoGraph selection input that basically turns objects dynamic. And I'm going to drag this in here. And if I rewind and press play, nothing will happen because none of these fragments is dynamic now. But if I go here and add a linear field, and let's go grab the linear field, and let's move it out, and let's move it up, and let's rotate it a bit. So there we go. So what's going to happen now is as my linear field activates the MoGraph clones, you can see they're highlighted. Each of the activated ones is going to become a dynamic object. So let's go and extend this to 900 frames, and you can move this down. And now when the threshold is exceeded, these are going to break. And you can make it a bit more dynamic by adding some initial velocity to your RBDs and so forth if you want them sort of to pop away. Custom initial velocity, and you just set some sort of direction. Now, of course, this is not what you asked for, but this is what you're getting, and you will see that poink, poink. Maybe you can add to the effect and do stuff. But this is how you would go about creating this. And if you add a bit more a detail to it, I think it's going to look a bit better. And then some pyro and all that lovely stuff. And by the way, talking about pyro, today I did a quick tip, which became available 23 minutes ago, about how to create realistic explosions. I was watching a famous movie that the first, I'm not sure I can mention movies and all that. Maybe I can, but I won't. Somewhere in Australia, during a post-apocalyptic world, and there was a latest installment of that that had a lot of explosions in the desert. And I've been looking at methods how to put things together to create these really convincing explosions of trucks and cars and so forth. Because I do have a request as well for some of that training. So the beginning is a very simple way to create a more natural explosion. So go check out the quick tip. It has been available. Okay, let's see. That is that. Let me check the questions for a second. I'm going to go here, Marco. What if you wanted to add a crack? So let me put this up. I'm going to go to the comments and let's show this from Marco. What if you wanted to add a crack, then explode? How would you do that? So you want the crack to start becoming, start revealing itself slowly, if I'm not mistaken. Um, you can't do it directly, but you can because let's see, can a MoGraph effector work and you get them to move? Well, let's try something and see. A different way of doing this could be to use, not immediately, but on velocity peak. What this means is that if a certain amount of movement is applied to these clones, then their simulation will commence. So let me delete this, and let's delete this. So because everything is sitting still, we shouldn't see any simulation going on. You can see nothing is moving. Only upon initial movement, this will happen. So let's go and create a plane effector. You can see the plane effector is moving things in a certain direction. So I can say, well, let's go get that field here. And that field is going to allow for a portion of these fragments to move when it enters. So you can see it moves them up. And because we are at velocity peak, when something moves, it becomes live. So I guess this will add that initial bit of motion before it breaks, and or something like that. Let's see if there's a continuation of this question. Let's see here. Let's see. Oh, we have a few questions that just came up. Let me see. Here, working on on a snow globe that needs have 3 cracks before it breaks. Yes. Well, with glass, it's a bit trickier because you will see the interior of the glass. Um, that will require a special way, I would guess. That is something I need to look into. I did an example of that years and years ago with the old simulation system, where I was using a trick where the interior polygons were rendered transparent. So they didn't participate in the index of refraction, because if you make this into glass, you're going to see all the intermediate fragments in here. But this is something I need to look at, especially if you're going to use a combination of a Voronoi fracture and so forth. But nothing off the top of my head. Render, Marco says, render 2 versions, one with and one without. That could work as well if you can get them synchronized. But I'm sure there could be some way to do it. I just haven't gotten around doing it with the latest simulation system. So let me go up here. Let's see. It's, hey there. You're daring me to do something. So you do something on control high polydynamic example, exploding a spaceship, basically something like using a low poly mesh for the high poly and so forth. Uh, in theory, it's not harder to do. You just have to deal with more elements. And it does require a lot of manual stuff. You can't just set an explosion and expect everything to go where you want it to go. The way I would approach something like that, and this is generally on a theoretical level, would be to create, let's say you have this massive spaceship. Um, the animation for the breaking up for the major parts, let's say it cracks in half and so forth. Now, that, in my view, needs to be done manually. That's the best way because that's the hero object. Then, once you get the breakage, then you can add the various explosions using proxy objects and stuff like that. And then you can use either small fragments with simulations or particles to create the secondary debris, flying debris, and so forth. And as far as I understand, the majority of high quality productions you see on television or the movies is done in those ways where it's not just you get a spaceship, you say, all right, automatic fracture it, and then set it on fire, and boom, everything flies. No, there's a lot more control involved, especially when there's a director in the mix. And the director has a very specific vision on how things need to move, explode, tumble around, and so forth. But in any case, the general way to do it will be manually animate the bigger objects and then use simulations and stuff like that for the secondary debris and smaller objects. Let's see. I don't know if I can respond to that. When to use Cinema and when to use ZBrush. For example, if I'm making a theater set, they can there are no hard rules to this, Magic Dog. Um, whatever you feel comfortable with. If you do want some sort of rule-based stuff, is let's assume you have you're making something practical, right? And you have Play-Doh on one hand, and then you have cardboard and balsa wood and glue and so forth. If you're modeling things, the stuff you would make with Play-Doh, it's you would probably do them using ZBrush, whereas everything else in Cinema 4D. Now, having said that, ZBrush has excellent hard surface polygon tools, so there's nothing stopping you from doing the whole thing in ZBrush. And Cinema 4D also has a sculpting tool set, so nothing is stopping you from doing everything in Cinema 4D. Whatever you find comfortable in doing, uh, ZBrush has more tools to allow you to work with organic stuff and high complex, massive polygons and so forth. Cinema 4D allows you more for structure and stuff like that. So that's the extent of the advice I can give for something like this. Um, oh yeah, and you you responded pretty much the same. But again, nothing is set in stone. My colleagues, Ian Rodolfo and Paul Gabery and everyone else that uses ZBrush, they can do whatever they want in ZBrush. Yeah, so um, it depends how comfortable you are. Okay, let's see. Um, let's see further down a few more questions here. Let's see, I haven't read this. Is it possible to select polygons using another object? For example, if I have a plane and place a sphere on it, is it possible to select the polygons that are overlapping? Actually, that's a very good question, Matt, and you can do it. So here's my uh, polygon. Let's put 20 and 20. And I want to select stuff using this sphere. So anything in the sphere is selected, anything outside is not selected. Now, because this is a procedural object, um, I want to be able to visualize the selection, um, because if you go to polygon mode, it won't show you polygons. The easiest way to do that is just go and create old Cinema 4D standard material, and I just change the color. And this is just for visualization purposes, right? Good. Now, what I'm going to do is go to the plane into the other tags and add a polygon selection. In the polygon selection, which is using fields now, I'm going to add my sphere and set my sphere to be volume mode and make sure that this material has this assigned to it. And let's make this, just in case you didn't know it, render tags display. You can change the display of an object using that tag, so I can see, and there you go, we get these polygon selections. And yeah, you just use any object as a field. And the good thing about this is that you can change this to surface, so it's only going to select two. You can change the thickness. You can use the points themselves. So if the sphere has fewer points, it just selects based on the points. And again, you can change the radius. So there's plenty of stuff you can do to use objects to do selections and stuff like that. And because it's in a field, this doesn't only need to be a polygon selection. This can be a MoGraph selection. You can turn on lights and make your cubes bigger and so forth. So yeah, this would be the way to do it using a polygon selection. Just make sure you have a visualizer, which is a material where you have the polygon selection applied to it. Okay, where are we here? But is Synopody a better hard surface modeler? But that's not an easy question to respond to. There's a massive amount of overlap. It does come down to comfort. As I said, a lot of my colleagues can model anything they want in ZBrush. I can model anything I want in Cinema 4D. That's because I feel comfortable in Cinema 4D, and I haven't touched ZBrush. I don't have the time to play around with it, but it's on my the top of my to-do list, just procrastinating a bit. Um, so, does Cinema 4D have a better hard surface modeler? I don't know. The reason um, I would use Cinema 4D is because you have a lot of control on the polygon topology. If you're going to do subdivision surface modeling and you want very specific polygon loops and so forth, yes, you would go with something like Cinema 4D. But even if you're doing hard surface modeling, if form is what you're looking for, just what the surface looks like, then ZBrush will do equally great job at it. Okay, let me read this on the fly. SimD, if I create an object with a thicken on it, and I put it into a cloner, I can control the thickness of each cloner with the field driver. The question is, can I do the same with a fracture? You want to change the fracture? I don't know. Well, when in doubt, try it. This is the great thing. We're doing unscripted stuff here. So let's go and try it. I have no idea if it's going to work. So Voronoi fracture. I'm going to do it like this. And let's put this under a cloner. There we go. Let's add a few more of these. 5 times 5. They're all the same. And I don't know, do we have some sort of seed? We have a seed. Let's see if this is going to work. Let's go here, field driver add, and go to field driver here, change the values, and add a field. And let's see what this is going to do. Well, it's a child, so it skips a few. Rewind, make it bigger, and it does something, right? You have to agree it does something. How much of this something it does, I have no idea. Let's change this and see. It does something. I'm not sure if this is what we want it to do. Now, what I would say is that there are other ways to go about this as well. In case, for whatever reason, the field driver doesn't work, you just create a copy. You go the blend mode here, and this will blend parameters. So if I change my seed here, and then I use a plane effector with the only parameter, the modify clone, and let's go here and add my field, you can see that it's changing based on the value it's got over there. Okay, so there are many ways to do this. So again, make sure you've got blend mode, make sure that the blending parameter is the seed, different seed here and different seed here. And I don't know, maybe we can even change the number of fragments. There you go. Just make sure that you give it enough time to cache whatever it's doing, because it's calculating on the fly. Yeah, so something like this, I would guess. It's not an object with a thicken, but yeah, I guess. But let's try with a thicken. Why did I think it was Voronoi fracture for some reason? I don't know. So let's get a plane, make it 1 by 1, make it 50 by 50, and let's go and get a thicken. There we go. So it's thickening this. There we go. Let's turn off the color here. And the thicken, let's try it directly with the thicken. Let's go to the thicken and change the thickness, I guess. Is it the thickness? Oh, you can do it with a thicken, but you didn't know if you can do it with a fracture. So sorry, I'm replying to whatever you already sorted out. So let's move on. Let's see this one. If there's a way to bake a procedural material, a complicated material with the material blender, I want to make the material into a texture. I can't bake the texture of that material. Well, you need to use bake set. So Shift C, bake set. It's the bake set, and it should be able to bake the textures. If it's not, what is the specifics of what you're trying to do? A simple example of this, and by the way, when you're baking stuff, you need to understand what you're baking. So anyway, there's a whole, I think there is a bunch of tutorials on baking. I'm not sure. I don't have anything off the top of my head now. If you can hit me up on Twixer, and I can take a look and see where I can point you towards any baking tutorials. But that is pretty much it, the bake set. And it says, and basically reflections, normals, and displacement maps. Yeah, you should be able to bake them. I'm not sure what the problem could be. It could be the specific way you've constructed your materials. If you can contact me or send me a very simple file, I'll be able to take a look. The different modes and the remesher. Where's my remesh? Your instant mesh or remesher, I would, or the polygon. Well, the more modern one is the Z remesher. It uses the same mesher as Zbrush. Instant mesh is a different library that creates different types of topologies. 99.9% of the time, you can use a remesher. If anything fails and no settings can fix that, try this. There's no other particular rule. It's just two different algorithms. The polygon target modes, if this is the question, has to do with your final, the way it calculates the remeshing. Either it tries to hit a target of a specific number of polygons throughout your object, or the mesh density, which has to do with the size of the polygons it's going to create. So yeah, that's how you generally go around testing these numbers and so forth. Yes, Yanas is extremely busy lately with very important stuff inside Maxon. So he has passed on the Master Trainer. But if more people want to see him, just let's create a movement. Bring back Yanas. Okay, let's see. Let's see. My main question is that why learning Cinema 4D is not going to finish. Every day it just comes and it's beautiful. Yes, new features do come very often. Hello, Flavio. Okay, one more here. What has happened that a cached scene is displayed in the Redshift render view, but not in the render or picture view? It worked when cached was internal, but not when it was external. This, I don't know. It could be, some glitch or something like that. If you have a cache scene, what cache are you talking about? We have particle caches, we have alembic caches, we have volumetric caches, we have a bunch of caches. One thing I do suggest, just in case, is when you do change something, make sure you click on this button here to update. So when your render is running, make sure you click on the refresh and make sure that everything loads again. If a scene refuses to do that, I think the best thing to do is send it to tech support, because it should work with caching unless there's a very specific and it's a very specific situation where something is not configured properly. So let's see this. Is it possible to trigger an effector on a cloner, one clone at a time? What exactly do you mean? Because that's what fields do. All right. Trigger an effector on a cloner, one clone at a time. But yeah, that's what are you talking about the order starting from 0 ending in 1? Because let me give you an example of what I mean here. Let's take a matrix, right? Assume these are clones, and I want these to become to go up, okay? And And if I go here and add a linear field with 0 length, that's what I'm doing. I'm going one at a time immediately, right? So maybe I'm not understanding the question. So for example, push going to see, but one starts after the other one is done. Okay, so let's see then. Let's change this to linear. Let's go. Let's do this, and let's extend this, and let's set our plane to oops, parameter. Let's go to the Z. Okay. So the question is, how do you want to rig this? Because this is what happens here, right? And if you want them to go back, you just need to change your remapping. So curvature, let's control click here, add this right here in the middle, bring this down. And as this moves through, I just need to extend this a bit just to give it a bit more. Oh, it's just too small. Just going to make it ever so slightly bigger. So where's my linear field? There we go. And you just change that line and you get this. You can make it smaller and each one will happen. That will be one way of doing this. Yeah, but the specifics of the setup, I guess, is what's important. Just here, but just because we're here, what I like to do sometimes, you do it as simple as that, then you add a delay effector, and then the great thing is that without any effort whatsoever, you get a nice little bouncy motion here. Boing, 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 and you can set the delay to spring, and just, just doing that, make sure that your plane effector fields has this unclamped, and when you move this through, boing, 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 you get this nice little springy motion. It doesn't matter how abrupt it is. I don't know why I said this, but in any case, okay. Let's continue. Let's go here. Flavio, I was thinking if you have a cloner on surface of a sphere, can you move them one at a time by index number? Okay, so by index number. Let's see. What can we do by index number? There's definitely a way to do this. So let's go to sphere, make it an icosahedron and do that. Let's get a little, I don't know, cone and the plus Z and make it smaller. And let's put this under a cloner, the other way around, sir. Let's go to object, drag the sphere and set them polygon center. And we want to raise them one by one. Okay, one by one. So what do we need here? Well, the effector that deals, so let's put a plane effector and move them on the Z. Okay, so they're all moving on the Z. Just make this a bit narrower at the base. There we go. Now I want them to go one by one, and the effector or field for something like this is a step, and it will start from 0 and go up. So let me think here. Let me think. Oh, and I've got that up. Okay, there we go. So step field, and the step field will distribute the field's values from 0 to 1 from the first to the last clone. Right, so the clone with ID 0 is going to have 0 field strength, and the last one will be the full strength. Now, let's see how we could do this one by one. Could I use a time? So if not this, so I'm thinking out loud, a time, this will move everything. Okay. Let's put this on multiply. Okay, so it's doing something here. Let me make the timing. So the timing needs to be, because we have a lot of these clones. So they are moving one by one. Now, the IDs are different, as you can see, because they're not, especially with this kind of icosahedron sphere. If you take a look, just in case you're wondering, so point indices and select this, you'll see that 2, 21, 30, 66, 71. So they won't go in order. If you do want them to go spatially in order, what you could do is use a freeze layer. I don't believe I just said that, but we can use a freeze layer. So turn these off, and maybe we go on the sphere and we create a vertex map. Doobie doobie doobie. Point indices. Let's go here. Other tags. Get a vertex map, and let's seed this vertex map with a spherical field, a very small one, 10, and let's set the remapping to 100%. I'm pressing Shift C to create a, let's go here, Shift S to get my snapping. Let's move this on one of the points. There you go. Whoops, I want it. Let me turn this off and move it here on one of the points. I have point. Why isn't this thing not snapping? Why is it giving me a hard time? Is my snapping on? Oh yeah, it's because it's a child. And turn on the snapping. There we go. It was a child, so I apologize. There you go. So this is sort of the seed, how big it's going to be. And let's make this grow. So let's get a freeze and grow. And let's press play, rewind, press play. Now you can see the distance, the radius here is a bit too small because this is quite a big radius. So let's make this, I don't know, maybe 20. It has to be big enough so that the values are propagated, right? Even more, 50. There we go. It grows, 30. There we go. So now we get some sort of growth. There you go. So we get that growth. Again, it's going to grow slower if you have more polygons, but we can make this, go a bit slower here. So we have that growth now. And basically, as this is propagating around, I can make it so that the value of this vertex map is actually driving the plane. So I can remove these, drag this in here, and we should see the sort of raising up. You can see as the value propagates. And again, this is one of the many ways you could go and do this, and then you can add springs and make it go soft and all sorts of other things. But that will be sort of a way to do this. Okay, let's see, what else do we have here? I don't know, Flavio, if this was um, helpful, but yeah. Let's see. So changing the subject. If it might be interesting, at least for me, how can I convert a detailed model sculpted in ZBrush into a low poly version using normal maps from the original model? You want to get a high resolution model and create a lower resolution one. Well, again, it depends on what kind of models you have, but there are ways to transfer attributes using VAMP. Again, Shift C, VAMP. And the property transfer allows you to transfer normals and stuff like that between models using various uh, settings. The nearest polygon with data breaks should be your solution. So you can get your high polygon model and then use VAMP to get stuff from the high poly to the low poly and so forth. Again, depending on the models, what you want to do. I'm not sure how ZBrush handles that. Maybe ZBrush itself has the ability to export both a lower poly model plus all the associated data. Yeah, again, if you have any sample of what you're trying to do, please hit me up. Let's see. Let's see now. Further down, just reading. Mate, left, right. Clean shading. Sharon, what's up? What's up? Let's see. A robust fracture system with recursive fracturing. Yeah. What about that? That will be an interesting one. So, according to Sharon, ZBrush can export a low resolution. So there you go. You're halfway there. Is it possible to instance a node in the material editor? No, you can instance a material with a reference shader, but not a node itself. And do I refer to you as I am or you are? See what I did there? This has been a requested feature for a long time ago, and it'll be very interesting. What I guess just to let other people know what the thing would be is that, let's say I have a max on noise, right? I have a great little max on noise here, and I've set everything I need with a max on noise, and I love it, and I'm using it here, and everything is fine. Is there a way to create another material that uses that maximum noise, not another one, but this particular one? So a way to instance it. Now, if there is a method to do this, I'm not aware of it, but it will be a nice thing to have, shader instancing. So sorry, I do not have an answer to this. Let's see. So Matt, yeah, Matt is here to stir up conversations. So we don't have the particle-to-particle collisions can only be achieved, well, particle-to-particle interaction, not collisions, can be achieved using the predator-prey and the flock. So as it stands currently, we do not have particle-to-particle collisions. So Matt, I apologize. I hope everyone is well and you yourself. But yeah, I am, you are, this, the whole I am, and that's hugs and kisses or something like that. Nero says he loves my way of teaching. Thank you so much. It's my pleasure. If you're hanging out here and you're enjoying the show, that's all I want. Let's see. Yeah, that's exactly what you need with a max on noise, and a lot of people do want this. Yeah, I do not know. I am going to ask around and see if there's a way, but I'm not absolutely sure it could be done. Now, since I talked about the reference, if you go here and type a reference, you can reference a whole material here, right? The displacement, the environment, the contour, or something like that. Maybe, the surface. Let me try something. Why not? Let's break it. Let's crash it, and then I can turn off. I can log off. I don't think this is going to work, but who cares, right? So we have two planes, one here and one here. And I'm going to create two materials, material 1 and material 2. What I'm going to do is create a material 3. It's not going to work. But anyway, material 3 is only going to have a maximum noise, and I'm going to put it on the surface. Whatever this is going to do. And I'm just going to put this right here. I'm sure there are Redshift experts that are screaming now, you can't do that. right? So this is the ref. And then we have 1 and 2. Okay. Now, let's get 1 and use a reference shader here and put it, I don't know, in the color. And let's reference 3, the surface of that. Let's apply this to 1. No, this can't work. Reference. No, this definitely cannot work. If it does work, I'm going to be extremely upset. I'm not. I don't mean that. So 1, 2, and ref, and put 3. Oops. So this is material 1. It's material 2. Now let's go to 3 and change the noise and see what happens. If it works, I'm gonna, and let's not forget. Oh, let's see if it renders. Right? Didn't check if it renders. We can see it in the viewport, but we don't know if it renders. Right? Oh, come on. So this is the reference. I mean, it's not elegant, right? But let's not be ridiculous here. Let's go and change something. Let's go and do, I guess, the input and set this to overall scale. Would the scale change? Should it change? Yeah, it's changing, but you have to refresh it. Okay, 0.5, refresh. No, 50. Refresh. Well, look at that. Refresh. Ha! 10. Refresh. 500. Refresh. Well, I guess there are ways to do it. I am, you are. Who am I? I don't know. I don't know if this is kosher, if we're supposed to do this or not. Uh, it works, I guess. You know, I don't know what to say. I'm a bit confused. I didn't actually. I expected this to spectacularly explode in my face. So let's see. What else do we have here? Where's it? Matt. Ask you anything. How do you make particles collide with other particles? Yeah, you can't unless you use, as I said, the I guess bird to prey or something like that. But you can't actually make them collide. The solution someone else will give you, Matt, is maybe you need to. And here's a question: convert them to rigid bodies and get them to collide. But anyway, this is a very anticipated feature, which I'm sure, like everything else that has ever been asked for in the history of Cinema 4D, someone is considering it. Okay. So try it out. I am, you are, we are, and see if you can get the results you want. The refresh is a bit dodgy, right? Don't forget about that. Let's see. 2G version of, yeah, it's not the, you know, this is not the forum to ask these questions, but anything that you as users feel that it, it will improve your workflows, make sure that Maxon knows. Just send an idea their way. Let's see what we have here. Send my file. Take a look. You can contact me on Twitter X Twixer at NosemanGR. Send me a DM, and if I don't see any dodgy links and all that, tiny URLs, although I do have a bunch of ways to check them out, please send the file. I would prefer something like Dropbox or something like that. I do avoid opening from weird file storage stuff, zip files and all that. Cinema 4D. would do. Okay, and we are 5 minutes past the hour. Let me see if I have anything in the from the other questions I had. Anything I managed to get to ask a few questions here. Um, so there's a question about from Linda from a certain university, and yeah, there's a question about the educational license. I can't provide any answers. These are things that you need to talk to your sales representative or send them to customer support. Anything that has to do with, you know, licensing and why something may or may not work, and they will point you in the right direction. Oh, I do have something here. I do have something here. Um, Stelina, Stelina Graphic. Hello, welcome to the show. So the question, let me see how much. It's a big question. Um, all right. I mean, I'm actually going to do it. I'm going to do it here. Let me get my face out of the way. So the question is, someone has a Mixamo um, rig. Now, I'm not absolutely sure if this is going to provide a total solution. So walk. Yeah, all walk, and somewhere here is the walking. So this is a capture from a motion capture suit. All right. So this is what we have here. Now, the particular user of the name of Vincent. So Vincent says, I have and go to character, and Vincent has a Mixamo control rig. So let's quickly put one together. Just clicking here, control arm to create two arms, go back to the pelvis, control leg to get. So there you go. This is the character. It's a Mixamo compatible and has all the goodies that Cinema 4D's character object has. And I'm going to go to animate here. Now, the first thing is, how do we transfer the motion? That's something that the particular user solved, but I'm just going to show you how you may go about doing it. I want the motion from motion capture to propagate to whatever we see here. Now, we're not seeing everything, we're just seeing the controllers. But if for any reason you want to see more stuff, you go to the display of the character object and you just say full and full and whatnot, and you'll be able to see the full hierarchy. Now, let's transfer. So in order to transfer motion, the best way is to go to the rigging and create a character definition. And the character definition by default is sort of aimed at Mixamo-ish skeleton. So extract skeleton, and it will read a bunch of joints, 210, 11, and whatnot. So that's successful. It populated the tag with all the information it needed. It's based on names and tokens and stuff like that, and the hierarchy. Now, what I need now is to find a way to read the definition from this character. And to do that, you need a solver. So rigging character solver. It's targeting the default one it found, and it's going to read from that one. So what we're seeing now is that the rotations from the joints have been transferred from this all the way to this. Now, there's one little thing left to do, and that is because the motion forwards is not part of the capture, it's actually just a keyframe on the parent. I can always go here and say, okay, let's go to rigging, let's get a constraint, transform, and let's drag this in here. So now both should walk the same. Now, that it's got different ratios, right? One character is shorter, one character is taller, and so forth. But in terms of their rotations, it works. And if you want to see what's going on here, you do that. Now, you can go and add animation on top of this. That's why you will use the control rig. But the question now, here's all this was to come to the question, what do I bake on this character object? It has a ton of stuff. It has hidden stuff and so forth. What do I bake to get a simplified final animation on whatever I've done over here? So this is how the whole thing begins. We're in animate mode, okay? The first thing is to make the character object editable. Otherwise, it retains some procedural characteristics that don't allow you to do a lot of things. So go to the character object, press C. So we still have the animation here, right? But now the majority of the stuff has been baked down. And this is the process, right? We have selection tags and all that. The other thing is that there's an enormous amount of objects. A lot of them are hidden. So delete all the layers. And now you're going to see a ton of stuff over here. The final one that will be bound to an object. So let's assume we have the character object. One of the things the character object allows us to do is adjust and bind and do stuff like that, okay? So you adjust the skeleton and then you bind it to a mesh. After all this is done, the hierarchy that's bound to the mesh is the one, if you go down here, right down here, is the one that says bind hierarchy. This is the one we need to bake. Now, just what you see here is, you can see that we get the rotations. They're all driven using various expressor tags and whatnot, right? There are no keyframes over here. So we need to go to our timeline. I need to select all these. So I'm going to middle click here and drag this over here. And we get all these joints that have no keyframes. With everything selected, right? Everything is selected. You can see they're orange here. Go to Functions, Bake Objects. Let's do only rotation. And let's create a copy and remove all the tags. I want it to remove any potential tags that exist over there. And press OK, and it will bake everything that had some sort of rotation here. All right. So let's see if this is going to work now. Let's go and remove the Mixamo control rig. Whoops. I removed everything. I don't want to remove the Mixamo control rig. The bind hierarchy, let me just close this. There you go. So I can remove these. And where's my bind hierarchy? Oh, I managed to mess it up. Congratulations to me. I'm just undoing a few times. Let me remove this character here and check it out again. There we go. We have all this. It's the bind hierarchy we want to bake. So middle click, drag everything here. Again, make sure I select everything. Bake objects. If the bake object is grayed out, right, make sure you go back here. You click on this and you select everything. So bake objects, rotations. Did I only put positions earlier? I don't know. Clean tracks means that it won't add keyframes where they're not required. Create copy, bake expressions, and I should have my copy. There is my copy, the one that says copy. And now, in theory, I can remove everything else, and this is going to remain, and everything is baked in. Now, we still have the motion if we wish to move it here. I mean, you can make it a child of that, or you can go and use a rigging constraint. Again, I'm just going to do it one more time here. So now it's going to just follow that. And maybe I want for the bind hierarchy alone, for this one, to just go and bake the position. But I don't want to create a copy or clean tracks. It's just going to add all those. Now I can remove this. Now I have a fully simple setup, and I think I can even remove all the tags now because they're not really doing anything. There you go. So I have my little walking character. Okie doke. If, within the things I showed, there appears to be a solution, let me quickly go to the comments, and because we need to close this showdown, let's see, give it a try. Hello, create a train mask. shader to texture snow on my mountain. Maybe I can show this. Terrain mask shader, and this is going to be the last one. Don't post any more questions. Please send them through the online form. The show's not over, Sharon. The show is not over. So I was wondering how I can create a terrain mask shader to texture snow on my mountain. In order to create snow, you need two parameters. One is height, and the other one is orientation. Let me see. I'm going to open something on my other screen, which is all secret. And I'm going to find, give me a second, because I offered this as a solution to a user. I need to remember who. Let me just take a quick look. Let me take a quick look. If I can't find it now, I don't know, maybe it'll find its way as a, oh, let's try it. When you can't find something, build it from scratch. I just made that up. Okay. So using shaders directly. And I'm going to bring up my, let me close everything else here. No, there we go. So Redshift, and let's open the materials. Let's press this button here. And what I want to do is create a material based on height, first of all, a shader based on height. So let's go here. Let's remove this. Let's move this down here. And let's get, so in order to, the way shaders work in Redshift is the renderer goes through every pixel. These are backgrounds, so it just zooms through, and then it touches, let's say, this little pixel here, right? So Alt, there we go, touches this pixel here, and it checks out parameters. It checks out where that pixel is on the polygon to see the direction, to see how much light is coming, and various things. But it also can read various parameters, for example, position and stuff like that. And you use the state. So if you go to the state, amongst other things, it gives you the normal map, the height, and the ray position, ray length, and all that lovely stuff. So the ray position is my, yeah, I think this is stuck. Let me change context. Why does it do that to me? Redshift. Bring this up. Yeah, for some reason, sometimes my null setup freezes. Yeah, I don't get it. It's stuck here now. Come on. Is it because, oh, it's because I did something here. Let me see. I'm trying to unstick my mouse. There you go. It's fixed now. So let's get the position, ray position, and put it on the surface here. Okay, and let's start this. This gives us X, Y, and Z positions. So if I go here and do a splitter, I can get through the color, because the color is a vector, right? Red, green, blue, R, G, B, X, Y, Z. So I want the Y. Now you'll see that the gradient is extremely small over here, because this is in literal units, in centimeters. So it gives you a value here. Let's say this is, how tall is this? This is 338 centimeters. It's going to give you a value from 0 to 338. So you do need to remap this with a change range. So let's get a simple change range here, or a color change range, but I'm going to use a simple change range. And I'm going to get from 0 to 350 to go 0 to 1. So now I have a gradient up here. The great thing about this, now this is a linear gradient. I can use another gradient to remap it. So get a ramp and put it here. And what I can do in this particular case now is use this to sort of define a certain elevation just by changing the numbers and so forth. So this is my y direction. Okay, this is my y direction here. Then you can also use some math to create something equivalent to this, to get all the surfaces, all the polygons are facing upwards, because snow tends to sit on flat surfaces. Now, let me figure this one out, because I always forget my math. So what I need is the ray direction. This is what I need, the ray direction. And I think it's the dot product. Let me see if it, yeah, it's the dot product. And the dot product finds how, let me show my little face here. 1 second. So this is my finger, but it's a vector, right? So imagine this is 0, 0, 0, and where it's pointing is a vector. If I want to find, to see another vector, how perpendicular it is, if 90 degrees it is, or if it's pointing in the same way, you use the dot product, and it inputs two vectors, as you would see here. It takes in two vectors, and it gives you a number from 0 to 1, or from -1 to 1, or something like that, which says if the vector is perpendicular, I think it's 1. If it's pointing the same direction as 0, or the opposite, I don't know these things. And if it's pointing in the opposite direction, it becomes negative. So it's an interesting way of figuring out where a normal is pointing. So if you get the ray, the normal here, let's get the normal of that particular. And I want to test it against the global y, right? Because the second vector is pointing upwards. Let's see what this is going to do here. I'm going to put it directly into the color. Good. And let me just ramp this and see what's going to happen if I ramp it a bit. And there's my ramp. Is this a ramp? Yep, that's a ramp. And basically, what's black now, or something like that, is showing me what's pointing upwards, or is it the opposite? The opposite. So anything that is white is flatter than anything that's black. So let's take a sphere, for example, and put it on a sphere. And let's turn this off. You can see it goes on the flatter surfaces and then sort of tapers out. So now you can combine these two, the height with the direction, and only get the flat areas that are above a certain threshold. So you can use a layer for this. So layer, color layer. Let's put this in here, and let's get, I guess this is a base, and let's get the other ramp here, and let's just multiply them, because that's the easiest way to get them. And there you go. So this now, as you can see, shows us the elevation as controlled by these gradients here, and also the parts of my model where the snow can actually sit. Look at that, it's too steep, that is too steep, but the other parts are not. And you can use your gradient to define how flat you want the areas to be to hold snow. And this is your that's your snow. There you go. So that will be something you can do. Take a screenshot of this. There we go. Dot product, and make sure the dot product is showing the direction you want to compare the normal with. And it's 0, 1, 0, because y is up, and it's the global direction. Anyhow, for the 29 or so people that are still watching, oh, my screen is small again. My screen is small, but now you can see the whole thing here. And let's show it one more time. I apologize for these mistakes. I'm in the middle of vacation. My brain is mush. And let's make the segment 600 and 600. You can see it much, much better here. And just a quick repeat. we get from the state node, we get the normal direction of each pixel that has been rendered. Okay, this is what this refers to. During the rendering process, the renderer runs through every single pixel in your rendered screen and tests for various things like geometry. And if geometry is found, then it can return the normal direction. So which way is that little polygon facing, or that point is facing? The normal without the bump, the geometry normal, the tangent, bitangent UV coordinate, and so forth, including the ray position. And the ray position is an RGB color, which is, it uses the position X, Y, and Z of each pixel. And you just split it so you get only the Y component to test for height. And this will give you this weird, very small gradient, this one here. And then we range it. We change the range so that I put here the highest peak of my mountain, and I can tweak it as well as much as I want to. Then I can ramp it. So you can ramp it then and create whatever you want. And on the other side, you get the normal direction. You put it in a dot product. And we don't need this, a dot product. We compare it to the y-axis, the up axis, the global up. And here it will give us a certain value where white is generally the ones that are pointing upwards. Black are the ones that are pointing sideways, 90 degrees, and everything else in between. I use a ramp to change how this looks and tighten it up. And then I'm using a color layer with a multiply to multiply the height and the, let's say, flatness of the surface up there. And this will be my snow. So even though I covered my screen earlier, now I guess it works. And again, for your convenience, here's the change ranges from 0 to the height. You can always play around with this. And yeah, the dot product compared to the plus y. Anyhow, good. I think that I hope everyone survived today's lesson. Keep them questions coming, and yeah, I hope everyone has a great rest of the week. Thank you so much for your brilliant questions. The questions you're asking not only help you, but help everyone else as well. And without further ado, I'm going to look for the button that has the closer loops and all that. Oh, I found it here. Okay, I'm ready to click on it. So again, thank you very much, and see you in a couple of weeks. Bye-bye.